Well, you know, I talked with Diz a long time ago, and I was trying to, I said, well, Dizzy Gillespie, as a composer and an arranger, many of the things that you have done have really colored the vocabulary that almost all jazz musicians use, since you are the kind of architect of bebop, taking the things that Bird seemed to do naturally and organizing them and codifying them and all that. And, you know, many of the things that Diz did seem to come from some of the earlier pianists, like Tatum and some of the other people that he worked with. And he said that when he discovered just this particular chord, he said the whole melody of Night in Tunisia was there, because to take an E-flat chord, add the 7th, the 9th, the raised 11th, and the 13th. And he said all he had to do was just play the notes. And yet all of the things that he seemed to do led logically into other kinds of explorations, like Tad Dameron's. But the thing that really interests me coming out of that period was a lot of people don't realize how complicated in the beginning Thelonious Monk was when he wrote that was very early in the thing.
I don't even know the name.
I don't know that.
That's the theme. Everybody used that on 52nd Street. It was called 52nd Street theme.
Oh, right.
Everybody used it, but nobody played the release. Everybody. You know, and
is that Monk?
That's Monk, and,
Oh,
and you know, no
really?
one thinks of him as writing that kind of thing. But of course, he wrote.
Yeah.
I mean, so you know, it's logical that he would do something like that.
Well, how about the
Bud Powell?
Bud Powell.
Bud Powell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the heck is that one? It just came to my mind.
Paris.
Parisian Thoroughfare.
Parisian Thoroughfare, right?
I mean, that's another example
Oh,
of I guess he got his ideas maybe from listening to Monk. He wasn't doing.
Well, he and Monk used to go to Mary Lou Williams' house a lot, and they would just exchange ideas. And many of the things that they came up with were almost interchangeable. I mean, they had the three of them had a tremendous exchange, because Mary Lou was using many of the harmonies that Monk and other guys were using back in the 30s, before music evolved into bebop. So
I think
she
a
was
lot
way
of
ahead.
people don't realize what a tremendous influence she was on a lot of people, and how ahead of herself. She was always a little bit ahead of herself.
Always.
I admired her so much, that woman.
Always interested me how, as much as I love, and I think the Lunsford Band is probably one of my all-time favorite bands, when they'd get to
Right.
2 or 3 riffs going on at one time. It was just marvelous. And yet now we come to the bebop era, where we have very complex single lines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did they read? They must read.
Oh yeah. Dizzy in his first band in the Onyx had charts on.
Yeah.
Don Byas and Oscar Pettiford were the only two guys that read it.
Oh.
Everybody else was
Really?
scuffling with it. Yeah. And
What about the big Dizzy's big band with was Bird and people? Were Bird and people?
Well, Bird ran very well. He was forced to, because he came around. I guess Joe Jones and some of the other guys tell that story about him coming in and thinking that everything was supposed to be played in E flat or some particular key, and getting thrown out of the club because he couldn't play the tunes that everybody was jamming on, and really hurt his feelings. He really went in the woodshed and came out really playing very well because he worked at it very hard. Hours spent learning to read the notes to the things so he could learn them quickly. But he read well, and as a matter of fact, I remember I was house pianist in Birdland, and I was working on my piano lesson, which at that particular time was one of the pieces of Debussy, the one in E. And when I was...
the arabesque?
The arabesque, yeah. Yeah, one. And so I told, Bird came in, and he said, "What's that?" And so I said, "Arabesque in E." And he said, "Oh, I know that." I said, "Oh, really?" And he took out his horn and played.
You're kidding?
You're right. Sure.
Oh, my
sure.
goodness.
And so I asked, much later, I asked Sarah Vaughan about it, and I said, you know, that really surprised. I told her the story. I said, it really surprised me. She said it wouldn't surprise me because on the bus with, I guess it was in the Eckstein band. No, I must have been the Eckstein band.
Yeah.
He would take Stravinsky scores and play permutations of different parts. He'd play the part forward, then he'd play it backwards. Then he'd say, well, I wonder would start if I start in the middle of the phrase and went that way. Uh-huh. Or, well, how about that way? You know? and he would do all of these things. And so he drove the guys on the band nuts because they weren't particularly interested in what he was working on, you know?
Yeah, right.
And they said, what are you doing? Come on already.
Talking about Sass, do you remember that that story? Somebody asked her to sing, my Reverie, and she said, "Oh, I don't think I remember it." The bass player said, "Well, I do." He said, you know, look around at me, and so she started, and then she couldn't remember the next lyric. She looked around at him. He said, "G7."